Word on the street is EVs are set to take the ICE world by storm, not only for their lack of interest in sucking down dinosaur fuel, but also for their performance. Some headliners like Lucid's world-beating Air sedan can do shocking things, like accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Impressive. But just when it seemed like the old internal combustion method was breathing its last gasp, good old legacy automaker Chevrolet drops the mic with its unbelievable 2025 Corvette ZR1. A car so staggering as to be almost unreal, as we'll dive into momentarily. But first, would you kindly click the subscribe button below? Everyone here at Motorythmm thanks you. Now, there are Corvette traditionalists out there still fussed up over what the C8 generation represents, that being a stark departure from the OG front-engine Corvette configuration. And I get it. When Chevrolet first unveiled its latest Vette, the design dictated by moving the engine behind the driver was, shall we say, interesting. But keep in mind, after 7 generations of pushing the performance envelope, Chevy needed a wholesale design brief update to keep going. Considering what Chevrolet has quickly accomplished with the C8 Corvette, it may be easy to forget how truly spectacular the C7 generation was at the end. A quick recap. In regular old Stingray spec, the C7 Vette was rocking a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8, making 455 horsepower and 460 feet-pound of torque. The 60-mile-per-hour sprint was done in 3.7 seconds. No big deal. There was the Z06 with matching horsepower and torque figures of 650. This is a lot of juice. And the penultimate C7 Corvette, the ZR1, slapped a supercharger onto that V8 and turned the dial up to a whopping 755 horses and 715 torque. This translated to 60 miles per hour from a standstill in 3 seconds flat and a top speed of well beyond 200 miles per hour. These metrics are nuts by any measure of car-crazed enthusiasts, but even with all the power and that engineering prowess, there was something holding the Corvette back from all-time greatness, something no Corvette could avoid across 66 years of production: the handling penalty that comes from a big V8 mounted in the front. Always an icon of value against the Italian exotics in which it was compared, from a performance perspective, the Corvette was forever held back by the inherently less favorable dynamics of having the engine in the front of the driver. Why have Ferrari and Lamborghini historically offered their cars with a mid-engine design? Because handling. And so for more than 6 decades, Chevrolet rolled the mid-engine C8 Corvette off the line in 2020. It was a coup for fans of American performance and cause for concern over in Italy. Out of the gate, this most modern of Corvettes was packing heat. The heat coming from another naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 mill putting down 490 horsepower and 470 foot-pound of torque twist. 3 years later, in concert with 70 years of Corvette production, the C8 generation Z06 was born, and with it came something known internally as Gemini. Zodiac fans will know the Gemini sign is represented by twins Castor and Pollux. Over at General Motors, it more likely represented the automaker's long relationship with NASA space programs. But it would also foreshadow something of a twin in the Corvette family down the road. Instead of the standard 6.2-liter V8, the Z06 Gemini motor was a 5.5-liter unit featuring a flat plane crank, just like the design found in those cars from Maranello. With an 8,500 RPM redline, this new Corvette could really scream. Output came in at 670 horsepower and 460 torque. An 8-speed dual-clutch automatic harnessed this beast and sent the new Z06 from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.6 seconds, onto the quarter mile in 10.5 seconds at 131 miles per hour, and up to a top speed near 190 miles per hour. It could circle the skid pad at a face-warping 1.16 Gs, and according to Car and Driver, this C8 Z06 could go from 0 to 150 and back to 0 in 22.5 seconds, or 2 seconds faster than the almighty Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Why all this background? Because the C8 Corvette is an absolute masterpiece in Stingray form, and the Z06 is an uncorked berserker. But Chevy wasn't done, not even close. They took their fancy new mid-engine supercar to a whole different level. They recently unleashed the 2025 Corvette ZR1. You're going to want to sit down for this one. As we mentioned, the Gemini motor from the 2023 Z06 foreshadowed something else, something of a twin. Dubbed the LT6 in Z06 spec, the 5.5 1.5-liter Gemini found in the ZR1 is known as the LT7. That's because although it shares the general foundation of its familial engine, the LT7 is something else entirely. The head castings have unique ports and a larger combustion chamber. The valve train timing and lift profile is optimized for force induction. We'll get to that little tidbit momentarily. The sodium-filled exhaust valves are set up for higher temperatures, and the unique intake system is specially tuned for a pair of turbochargers. That's right, folks, the 2025 ZR1 is rocking a twin turbocharged V8. Back in the day, Callaway cars had this same idea with their legendary Sledgehammer C4 Corvette. It was an absolute beast with 880 horsepower, but never before has a factory Corvette taken this approach. And when that factory did take the twin turbo V8 path, it resulted in the most powerful V8 produced in America. That power being 1,064 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 828 foot-pound of torque at 6,000 RPM. Not even rock stars like the Dodge Challenger Demon SRT 170 or Bugatti Tourbillon and its 16-cylinder ICE engine can muster this kind of power. So when we say Chevrolet made the right choice by going mid-engine with their C8 Corvette, you can see why. This fabulous LT7 V8 has unique CNC machining of the combustion chamber, intake and exhaust ports. The dual ported shroud, ball-bearing mono-scroll 76mm turbos are integrated with the exhaust manifold. This serves to reduce the distance from the exhaust valves to the turbine wheel for faster response with electronic wastegates. But wait, there's more. An intelligent anti-lag engine calibration specific to the ZR1 adapts to your driving style. Lift off the gas and the system adjusts the variable valve timing, closes the wastegates, and opens the throttle to keep air moving through the turbo impellers. There's also a secondary port injection to go with the LT6's direct injection, not to mention up to 20 psi of boost. All told, it brings the compression ratio down from 12.5 to 1 in the LT6 to 9.8 to 1 in the ZR1 unit. So great is the output that Chevy limits torque in the first two gears. This is to both preserve the 8-speed dual-clutch automatic and ensure the power can in fact be applied to the ground. Of course, the transmission was not overlooked during development of the ZR1. It features inner and outer input shaft upgrades, shot-peen differential gears, final drive refinements, and an oil management system to support the increased lateral and longitudinal capability. All of which adds up to a powertrain capable of some serious Chevy-provided hyperbole, like the turbos getting as hot as the space shuttle during re-entry when spinning at full bore, or those turbines pulling hard enough so that they could fill up an Olympic-sized swimming pool with air in just 4 minutes. These are wild claims that may be tricky to prove. What's not tricky to prove are the shocking performance figures Chevy achieved during deployment of the 2025 ZR1. Upon first launch, this mightiest of Corvettes ran the quarter mile in less than 10 seconds. On its first lap at GM's Milford Proving Grounds, the new ZR1 clocked a higher peak speed than the C7 ZR1, and all 4 test drivers crested 200 miles per hour during initial testing at Germany's fabled Nürburgring. Now, no 0 to 60 numbers have been provided, but you can bet they'll be off the charts. Keeping all that speed and power in check is a hardcore aerodynamic design brief. With the optional ZTK Performance package, carbon fiber is used to craft front drive planes, a gurney lip on the front hood, underbody strakes, and a high downforce rear wing. High as in 1,200 pounds of downforce at top speed. Then there are the adjustable rear spoiler wickers, flow-through hood, and rear carbon fiber air intakes. Speaking of the rear end, this new ZR1 has a unique feature that harkens all the way back to 1963 and the split window Stingray. In this modern application, that window splitter is a carbon fiber spine used to increase engine bay heat extraction. Oh, and let's not forget the carbon fiber roof for lowering weight and the center of gravity, or the optional carbon fiber wheels, 20 inches up front and 21s out back, that reduce unsprung mass by a notable 42.8 pounds. With the ZTK package, those wheels are shod with Michelin Pilot Cup 2R tires, though even regular ZR1s get Pilot Sport 4S rubber size 275/30 up front and 345/25 out back. That's a lot of rubber. Keeping said contact patch on the ground are magnetic ride dampers and beefed up springs at all 4 corners. All the extra torque from the ZR1 even necessitated increasing the rear-wheeled 5-bolt pattern from 120mm to 150. Did we forget about the brakes? Of course not. Carbon ceramic rotors are fitted as standard equipment, but these are no garden variety carbon ceramic brakes. These units use a new manufacturing technique to incorporate longer carbon fiber strands for increased durability and more heat shedding capability. Sized 15.7 inches up front and 15.4 inches around back, the front brakes are the largest ever fitted onto a factory Corvette. Plus, they enable an 80 to 200 to 80 mile per hour run of just 24.5 seconds. Just stop and think about that for a second. Hashtag mind blown. How about the cabin on the 2025 ZR1? Well, for starters, you can order one of these brutes as a convertible, which seems borderline irresponsible. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't take one. The C8 typical central wall of buttons is on hand, as is a fully digital gauge cluster, a 10-speaker Bose audio system, and a digital rearview mirror. The latter feature is sure to come in handy when attempting to see through the split rear window and massive rear spoiler on these Corvettes. New to the ZR1 is a habanero design scheme that is spicy. Naturally, all manner of special ZR1 badges can be found along with a special plaque. Then there's the steering wheel. Flat on top and bottom, it features a bit of leather, a bit of carbon fiber, and a heated rim. But the best part of the ZL1 steering wheel is that it offers a view into something never before seen on a factory-built Chevy Corvette, a turbo boost gauge. In case you couldn't figure it out by just staring at the car, that boost gauge clearly identifies this particular C8 Corvette as a ZR1, the most outrageous sports car Chevrolet has ever built.